Talk us through what you posted. I've got the tweet.
Wow.
I've got the tweet or the X post. I don't know. Are you still allowed to say tweet?
It's always Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's always Twitter.
I've got the tweet here. I'm going to read aloud for people who don't follow Peter Finch on Twitter. At Peter Finch Golf. I'm pondering signing a club deal next year. Thinking while rubbing chin face. And weighing up what that would mean for content and the opportunities it might bring. Which brand do you think would be a good fit for me? What on earth are you talking about?
I've been thinking.
What time did he tweet that? Has it got a time on it?
Well,
was it 2 o'clock in the morning?
It was 9:41 in the evening, so he's still.
What were you pondering at the time? Did you just put your book down and there was some sort of?
I've had quite a few days of pondering. I've had like 5 days of not a lot of proper work. I've had 5 days of being off. I've been talking with a mate, and pondering what we're going to do when we grow up. And
is your mate Greg Norman?
My good friend Greg. And I'm just looking at kind of what we're doing on kind of YouTube, the places where content might go, and other opportunities that might arise if signed a club deal. Mm-hmm. So I've been looking at it a little bit more seriously. I've kind of, I have. David's crunched the numbers on like our club review videos that we've done. Mm-hmm. And then we've kind of formulated what could happen if we signed a club deal. So we wouldn't do comparison club reviews. Mm-hmm. And then the other content
what would replace that?
Yeah, could open up as a result of that. And realistically, our club reviews over a long period of time do pretty well. Yeah. And as you mentioned,
evergreen content.
Evergreen content. And as you mentioned before, we do it. I think we do it pretty well, especially the comparison stuff. So I've no issue in doing that. I still enjoy club reviews. I like getting new clubs. Who doesn't? But where our content is going and like some of the stuff that we're doing, actually signing a club deal could work out really well. Yeah. And it could also kind of open up another opportunity as far as like getting another member of staff in and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've been thinking about it. There's a lot of positives and some negatives.
I think ultimately the decision always comes down to what caliber of content do we get out of doing these things. It always, when you bubble it down to when we're making a decision, it's always, is the content that we produce going to be elevated by doing this in regards to the people that we can get on the channel, in terms of the places that we might be able to go to because of it. And like you say, financially, you can never, I think people would be more irritated with us if we weren't to say that there is always a financial gain from doing these things. Mm-hmm. And people would see through it anyway, that if we were to be like, oh, well, it's just, it's just really good clubs and I love them so much. But I think this year especially we've seen it more.
for people,
that's the voice of the.
For people just listening and not watching, we just did the
smacking the keyboard.
You're paid to say that.
Yeah, you see, you mentioned we're looking out on and you seeing what other people have been doing this year especially. You think of the guys like Grant and Micah who've obviously signed with TaylorMade this year. You've got the good guys with Callaway. You are seeing, I think, pros now being more aware of the YouTube space and probably being more accommodating to being involved, or even necessarily wanting to be involved. If you would have said to me 3 or 4 years ago that Rory McIlroy was going to do a YouTube video with Micah Morris hitting a driver as far as he possibly can, then I probably wouldn't have believed you. But those kind of opportunities are opening, and they're opening because of the access through these club deals.
The whole landscape of what golf media has shifted completely now. I'll go back to it again with the last round of a PGA Tour event got 115,000 viewers. Mm-hmm. Now that for a live sports event with millions of dollars on the line, huge implications for where you finish. this fall series is massively important to a lot of players. That's really low. That's really low. Really low.
Well, one of our videos would do that in almost a day.
Exactly. I mean, our Head Pro video did that within like the first day. Yeah. Last one from Castle Rock.
Well done on that edit, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I was really good in that video.
What's that from?
It's by purchasing this film, you've supported your local television and movie industry. Thank you.
I hope that's a world reference. I don't know if that's like a...
You wouldn't steal a car.
So yeah, everything shifted, and like you said, you do see when, say, Grant gets, can do an 18 holes with Colin Morikawa, for example, and purely from a content standpoint, which is what we do, that's our job. When I look at that, I say, okay, so if we did 18 holes with Colin Morikawa, if like TaylorMade, for example, what would be the equivalent videos on club reviews that we'd do to warrant not doing that?
Okay, so one of the good questions on the Twitter touches on this point exactly. Do you this is from PB1892. Thank you, sir. Paul. Do you think that you can give unbiased reviews of clubs if you have a brand deal? Keeping impartial makes any reviews you give more relevant, surely.
Yeah, I don't know if I responded to I think I responded to a few people, just like understanding that if this happened, if I did sign a club deal, and there's nothing on table at the moment, there's been few interested parties across a few years, but it's more if this happened, I wouldn't do the comparison club reviews
because of that fact.
Yeah, like even if, let's say, we signed with Titleist, which, by the way, was maybe the most popular choice of people. Yeah.
Lots of
Interesting.
people
Just a lot of people like Titleist
Maybe
a lot.
is that just because you in that question you say what would be the best fit for me?
Yeah.
Is that what people see you as a Titleist man?
No, just a lot of people love Titleist. Like, a lot of people still see Titleist as like the premium.
It is the premium.
Yeah, lots of people have been. I think I saw one bit further down that said there's plenty of TaylorMade and Callaway content creators out there already. I think we need more Titleist YouTubers out there pushing their brand. It feels like their brand is more for pros and not the everyday golfer. A good content creator could change that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately you have...
Could be you.
It could be you. That's another reference.
Yeah, all the big brands. Like, if we sign with any of them, all of them have positives. So I'm not too worried about that, and all of them make good clubs. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't be able to do comparison videos because, like you said, even if personally I knew that I wasn't being biased towards any particular club, if we signed with Titleist, then we did a Titleist driver review against a TaylorMade driver review, it wouldn't matter what that result is because it's kind of like, well, you're being paid by one of these manufacturers.
Yep.
You cannot physically
No, you can't
unbiased.
go either way.
Yeah, even if we signed with Titleist and we did a Callaway and TaylorMade review, people will be like, well, yeah, you're only saying that
because of that
about that,
and it's
because
it goes both ways. Because you can't be positive about the driver because people say you're being positive because you're getting paid, and then you also can't be negative about the driver because they're not going to be happy you're being negative about a club that you're being paid to use.
It's just it'd be too complicated and it's too open for interpretation. Like the reviews that we do now, it is very much just based on my opinion of that club, what the data says, and that's fine. Just unbranded as far as like clubs go, so that's absolutely fine.
Thibaut Courtois.
Wow. Okay. Hi, Thibaut.
Hey, Thibaut.
However, when you go on his profile, I'm not the famous goalkeeper.
Oh.
My interests are golf, downhill skateboarding, and computing. So not the famous goalkeeper.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
Courtois
exactly.
is.
Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah,
I know you, Courtois.
Here's an interesting angle. Signing a club deal. You could then answer the question, is it better to have all your gear from one manufacturer or is it better to source it from different manufacturers? We do those like long-term reviews. Last year's club, like this year's clubs, all from different places, all over the shop.
Well, yeah.
Is that better than restricting yourself to one brand? And that could be a longer-term video. But then he says also, after all, it really depends on what perks that company can get you. Could they get you a PGA Tour wildcard entry? Could they get you programs on the tour? You can like lots. There's lots of things that signing a club deal would bring. Does it mean that the content would have to change? Yes, but is there some way that we can...
Just before you answer that question, I just want to tag another question onto it, which you're probably already thinking, because we're talking about how this is going to change potentially our content. So Mick's talking about there and saying like, it may be answering the question of having a bag full of all these clubs. So that's one thing. Then also that can affect and will affect another string of our content or another strand that we have is our build my bag series, which obviously for years now you have gone across the board and you've selected clubs from different manufacturers.
Yeah.
And obviously that would
Yeah.
would have to change.
The driver video. This year's driver. The one from my manufacturer.
So, I mean, along with the question that Mick's asked, I suppose the question is what will happen to that as well?
So the different options that we have. So let's say, especially for the first year on that, so if we sign a multi-year deal with somebody, I honestly think the views would probably be better in that first year. Because rather than like having a selection of different irons and kind of what we're going to pick, it would be having this full tour fitting experience, you know, at an amazing location, tailor-made the Kingdom, for example, something like that.
Those videos are always fun to make, aren't they?
Yeah, and it just gives you the opportunity to do a very different angle on how you're making up your bag. So I'm not too worried about that. And what we did this year, apart from the drivers and putters, really, what we did is say with Ping, with the irons, I knew I wanted to do Ping irons this year because I've not had them in the bag for a long time, and the products that they were bringing out looked fantastic.
And you needed help.
I didn't get the ones. I didn't get the ones I wanted though. I wanted more help. So we went to Ping and said, "Okay, can you do me a tour fitting of these irons?" So we didn't do any comparisons there. It was just these are my new
Straight
irons.
up, yep.
Yeah. So that's something that we'd probably do if we did sign with someone. Like I say, it's just different opportunities that would bring. But yeah, no club reviews. And to your point about using different clubs throughout the bag, I'm fairly confident whoever we signed with would have a product which works well for me.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that whoever we signed with, they're invested to find the best clubs that are going to work for me.
Yeah. And also, and this is the secret sauce that Trotty told us, is that if they don't have the specific club that you want, they'll just make and or adapt one for you.
Yeah, you know, it would be dealing with the very best fitters in the world who do this day in, day out. They will know how to get something that works for me. My swing isn't that wild.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the practice stuff you've been doing in there?
There's some stuff that works in there. So I'm confident that I'll be able to find something that works. And each brand now, really, there's only a few brands that have weaknesses in certain areas. Like if you think about Callaway from driver all the way down through putter with Odyssey,
Yeah.
like great, TaylorMade, same, Titleist, same. Even Mizuno make good putters now. I mean, come on.
That blue one from Fairway Down.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Matt Fryer.
So all these brands, I'm really not worried about not having great equipment to use.
Okay, so speaking about brands, Andrew Tinsley on the old Twitter/X said, Spalding. Put the Melita ball in play, bust out some retro Sevi irons while sporting some classic apparel. What the niche brands, the like cool, trendy, maybe niche brands that you would consider? Would you go? What if Ben Hogan
And
was
McGregor.
Oh, God, those McGregor irons from last year were
McGregor made a
unreal.
I think niche brands are generally quite specific to an area. So Lab, for example, putting.
Tacoma.
Well, they're branching out a bit, but they're mostly irons, aren't they? Let's face it. Tacoma, you've got irons. Bettinardi putters, they do a few wedges. Crank, that's driver.
Wow.
JP wedges. So, you know, the niche brands tend to be pretty specific on certain areas. So you could have you could bring together a collection of niche brands.
You've signed individual deals with a driver company.
God, that's such a good idea.
Smithworks wedges and
But it is interesting. Let's say somebody comes in with a big offer, which is a niche brand, which you're not 100% sure on. Let's say Itabori, the irons, the Japanese irons that I had last year. Let's say they come in and said, "Okay, love what you do. We're going to do this," and they come in with like this huge offer, which is bigger than anyone else. Then that's a decision of what the financial implications would be and what that would do. Because, you know, it can't be ignored. Like, it is a huge difference as far as income for the whole business would go. And what that would allow us to do. It's all this kind of weighing up. It's all these options that we've got to consider.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the best clubs.
Yeah.
It's about what it would mean for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to think about.
I mean,
Lot to ponder.
that's all well and good. And you can put a tweet out, at, what was it, 9:30 in the evening after you've had a glass of red wine or whatever you decided that you were going to.
I'm not drinking.
And there's maybe been a little bit of wishy-washy conversation right there. Are you actually serious about trying to sign a club deal?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
So this is something we could see 2025 Peter Finch with a brand.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think just because of the numbers that we've had a look at as far as like views and content and all the rest of it, I think we could elevate everything that we did next year.
Do you have a brand in mind that you would? Is there a that you want to go to?
Not really. No, not really. I'd love to say yes, but as mentioned, every single brand that we work with from club review standpoint, they're all great. There's some things that come out every now and again that I'm not 100% sure on, but each brand has so many different types of clubs now as well.
Yeah.
I'm really not worried. I'd be comfortable with any of the major manufacturers that have Through the Bag and Ball.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Okay, so one thing that did come up, lots of people saying, yes, do it if it gives you more opportunities. Wonderful. Lots of people saying, no, we don't want to see you change the content just to take the money. Also understandable. For me, and for lots of people in the Twitter verse, X-verse, one of the big highlights of the year is you tinkering with the bag and then playing Quest for the Open tournaments throughout the year. Do you think that signing a club deal would negatively affect your ability to actually play golf? And the tinkering that you like to do, let's not pretend that you do like to have a little switch up and a little change and try things out. You wouldn't get to do that. Will that negatively affect your golf in a year?
So this sword is very much double-edged. I do like to tinker, but one of the reasons I like to tinker is because I have access to all the clubs.
Yeah.
So it's so tempting if I have like putting's the perfect example for me. If I have a few bad rounds putting,
Change your grip.
just
That's because you're a golfer and everyone does it.
But that's the thing. I'm a golfer, but I'm an exceptionally lucky golfer. That rather than saying, you know what, I've had a few bad rounds, I'm thinking of changing putter. If I have a few bad rounds, I can walk into our storage and get a new putter and give it a go. I'm incredibly lucky at that point. And with signing with a brand, one of the very best things that we could have is, yes, it's access to players, hopefully, to do these course vlogs. It's also access to other people who are associated with that brand. So let's say it's with Cobra.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, can I have 5 sessions with Claude Harmon in the third place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good Quest for the Open video.
There's
that.
more than outside the players, isn't there? The expertise in the fittings.
If you sign with if you sign with TaylorMade, you get more access to Trotty, and you're
Good or a bad thing, not sure.
I love Trotty. I want to see him as much as possible.
The point about the tinkering, though, like you say, is kind of double-edged, because even though you can then only tinker with the clubs that you are paid to use, the actual tinkering you can do and the access of expertise and knowledge that you get compared to you just having to make the tinkers yourself. You could have a club. I think the one of the hybrids that you got given was like a really lofted down, stiff shafted,
the
kind of
black and red shaft.
With the John Rahm super stiff shaft. Those kind of things maybe wasn't necessarily a build-up of a club that you would do yourself or even necessarily think of, but you have those, access to expertise of someone that would then look at you and go, actually, you know what? This is what we've done for X, name
Ricky
Tour
Fowler,
Pro, and this worked really well for him. Or if you do have a couple of rounds with a club that you're not liking and you just message that person and you go, oh, I'm struggling with this. Either it's required that you come back in and get refit, or they tell you, knock it down a couple of degrees in loft or whatever it might be. So again, it's kind of one of those where, your pool of clubs is shrunk down quite a lot, but actually your access to information is probably grown.
I think there would have to be we'd have to utilize one of the walls in the office and draw a map of all of the content strands that would maybe go away or would be like drastically reduced, and then draw a map of the content strands we think we would then have access to with a club deal.
That's being done already.
Yeah, and then work out how the crossovers work.
Yeah.
Is Pete's, is the which driver is the Build My Bag driver video? Is it replaceable by the fitting video for the new driver?
Yeah.
Do they? It's so tricky because
It's speculative as well because you don't know.
Also, like I have, and I know lots of other people will have been watching you do Build My Bag and club reviews for such a long time, and it does feel like it would be like quite a sad thing to see those things go away. So
There was a time,
Yeah.
Pete has been with a club
Yeah.
brand before.
Yeah.
And
Talk about that maybe then. So what was that like, and do you want to go back there?
no, so that was with TaylorMade. That was a fantastic year. Something that we did there was we did with TaylorMade. We did things like with players, did different projects. When it came to the end of that deal and the time came to renew, it was like, well, what should I have a go at doing club reviews again? Like, what would that look like outside of a club deal?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we decided. That's what we did, and it's worked out pretty well. It's a weird question of like, where would it have carried on if we were with TaylorMade?
Yeah.
Like, would we be in the position that we are now? Would it be better? Would we have had access to a lot of players and a lot of different stuff earlier? It's such a hard one to know.